Ready to soundtrack your summer? With Red Bull Summer All Day Play, you choose a playlist that fits your summer vibe the best. Are you a festival fanatic, a deep-end DJ, a road dog, or a trail mixer? Just add a song to your chosen playlist and put your summer on track. Red Bull Summer All Day Play. Red Bull gives you wings. Visit redbull.com/brightsummer ahead to learn more. See you this summer.
They say you can tell a lot about a person by the contents of their freezer. So, what does a bottle of Jägermeister say? It says you have standards, you don't cut corners, and you like your Jägermeister shots the way they're meant to be enjoyed, ice cold. As for the frozen taquitos and mystery leftovers, we'll keep that between us. Drink it cold, or don't drink it at all. Jägermeister. Damn, that's cold. Drink responsibly. Jägermeister liqueur, 35% alcohol by volume. Imported by Mast Jägermeister, U.S. White Plains, New York.
At first, I didn't think it was real. I woke up to this blinding light, and I was transported to another place. Pluto TV. Then I heard a voice.
Come with me if you want to live.
There were thousands of movies and shows, and they were all free.
The truth is ours.
It's just so beautiful.
On Pluto TV, free streaming of Terminator 2, Fringe, Arrow, The 100, and The X-Files may cause excitement, loss of sleep, and sudden belief in extraterrestrials. No credit cards or alien encounters necessary. Pluto TV. Stream now, pay never.
Hello there, Stanley Carr here. You know, I love collecting music and sports memorabilia. Want to know where you can find some? I'll tell you. Go to oldglory.com. This website features one-of-a-kind apparel from your favorite sports teams and musical artists. And I can help you get 15% off of all items. Use the code WWH135. Enjoy the episode.
Welcome to Wrestling with Heart, a podcast looking at pro wrestlers giving back to their community. Join me, Stanley Carr, as I interview wrestling's hottest names who use their platforms as entertainers to raise awareness and do community service.
Hello and welcome to another edition of Wrestling with Heart. This is the show where we talk with professional wrestlers and professional wrestling personalities about their lives in and outside of the ring, as well as doing acts of charity work, community service, volunteering, and spreading positivity. We're always about the positive vibes here on the show. Before I introduce my guest today, I want to take this time to plug our brand new release. Yes, if you can see this right here, a little cut off, but this is our new book, Champions for a Cause, Volume 1. It is available now as a paperback. You can buy it on Amazon for $15, so get it right now. Champions for a Cause, Volume 1, and a collection of interviews with over 40 of your favorite professional wrestlers and personalities. I'm talking about Jake the Snake Roberts, Al Snow, Buff Bagwell, so many others. Don't miss out on your chance to purchase a copy today. With me right now, I've got a very special guest. She is a legendary personality from Glow, the Gorgeous Ladies of Wrestling. I am talking about the one and only Little Egypt is here with us. How's it going?
Really good, Stanley. How are you doing?
I am doing great. Thank you so much for being here. I know we've talked about this for a while, so glad we could make this happen. Let's get into it. So I was doing a little bit of research on you and your background. You were born in Norfolk, Virginia, gotten the chance to kind of travel the country and even travel around the world as well.
Yeah, and that's because I was born a Navy brat. My dad retired an E9 Master Chief Petty Officer, and he had over a 24-year career in the Navy. So I was born into the Navy, and with his different duty stations, we ended up living in different parts of the United States, as well as 2 years in Japan. So I was raised on that. And then when it was time for me to get married and have my son, the last thing I wanted to do was move him. I think it was kind of traumatic for a young girl to constantly uproot and make new friends. But I did learn some very core character traits in the sense that I'm able to walk into a room and feel comfortable. I'm able to, be okay with being by myself, qualifying people around me. It actually turned out to be one of the biggest blessings. But when it's happening to you, you don't see it as a blessing. And those Navy brats out there that are watching right now are going to be so in tune with what I'm saying.
What can you tell me about like your first memory of any of the places you lived?
Well, I think what impacted me the most was Japan. Can you imagine, like, you're in third grade and you do 2 years in Japan? And let me tell you, Japan was so far ahead of the United States in toys, cartoons, game shows. Hello Kitty came out like a year before I got there. So I was like first on board with like the Hello Kitty trend. And it wasn't until like over 20 years later before I started seeing the San Marino pop up in the United States. So, I mean, I remember like I just remember the best toys ever, like electronic robots that would shoot off rockets. Like I mean, this was, and then like, but then we get back to the United States and it's Legos, and it's like, are you kidding me? Like it's not shooting off anything. It was the most boring. Like Barbie was so boring to me after having like these amazing toys as a child, and origami, folding origami into little flapping birds and cranes. I was all into it. I would love to go back to Japan. It's definitely on my bucket list.
And it seems like they were on the cutting edge of technology. A lot of different innovations and inventions were kind of originated from there. And of course, now it's been exported all over the world, including the United States.
Oh, for sure. And if you went to Japan now, they'd still be ahead of the curve with their train systems, the way that they express cleanliness, the way that they act in public. It's absolutely like next level. And I don't know if America will ever get around to that because it's not in our culture to simply be quiet on a train. Like I don't that's not something, but if you're going to Japan, be mindful that you are in a different culture and to respect that culture. That was another thing that I learned really early on growing up, is to be so compassionate towards different cultures. Now, my dad married an immigrant. He fell in love with my mom in Turkey, and so she was actually a Turkish movie star. My dad was in the Navy doing some top secret assignments in Istanbul. They met at a party. They fell in love, and then he brought her back to the United States. So it was really interesting growing up in an Italian American family, because my dad's Italian American from South Jersey, not even like Jersey, South Jersey, like the Italian South Jersey, right across the river from Philadelphia. So like this is where like my core beliefs on who I am as a person stems from this really old traditional family values around, eating Sunday dinner at the table, and family, do whatever it takes to help your family out, and laughing and loving without conditions. I know that I've seen other family dynamics where there's so many conditions, but in the family that I grew up in, zero conditions. Like they loved you no matter what. And when I started wrestling, that's actually, it was pretty fun for them. They loved it.
And it's funny too, because Japan has this rich history of pro wrestling, and like you kind of mentioned, the whole deal about respect. The culture over there, if you watch the matches in the crowd, they cheer, they clap whenever somebody does a move. It's not as raucous and rowdy.
Right. No, you're right. You're right. And what's interesting, like when I was there, wrestling was not as big. But I remember I'm like, this is early 73, 74, somewhere around that time. But what was big was sumo wrestling. And women at the time that we weren't allowed to go to sumo wrestling. And I think now women can go watch sumo wrestling. But that's also on my bucket list. I want to go back to Japan and I want to watch sumo wrestling. I have so much respect for those guys. We used to watch them on TV, like in their training, the amount of rice that they ate, what they lifted. And then just, I love that sport so much. That's definitely, I would not go to Japan without seeing sumo wrestling.
It's definitely something to do, like to check off your bucket list if you ever go, for sure.
Sure.
Now, did you watch pro wrestling as a kid before Glow? Were you familiar with some of the names?
Yeah. So at the time that I was watching wrestling, I think it was like the golden era. Okay. The Hulk Hogan, the Rowdy Roddy, Jake the Snake, Macho Man. You know, Macho Man and Rowdy Roddy were my two favorites. Like, I loved them. And when we came into the business on the television show, I was actually kind of disappointed that they wanted nothing to do with us. You know, like it wasn't open arms. It was like, are you breaking kayfabe? We'll break your face. You know, like it was so. I came in the kayfabe era, so I learned how not to talk about the business. But at the time, things were through the roof, and we weren't getting the best treatment from our sideline brothers, and we didn't really have sideline sisters, right? Because we were kind of like it's the only show that's ever featured all female wrestling and for 1 hour, if you can imagine that. So prior to us were the legends like Moolah and those women who were scrappy in the ring. And then we came in with a totally different vibe. And we were on the verge of making fun, like, because it was a comedy show. So if you can imagine Hee Haw meets wrestling, right? Like that was like the skits. And we had these raps that we all had. I had a rap, for God's sakes, I can't believe it, that I had to sing, and those were things that made this show really different and brought this water cooler following. Like, imagine this, in our zenith, we were getting over 6 million views every time we aired. So 6 million views a week. Now, to get 6 million views now with this platform of all this digital streaming, it's like unheard of, but it's 6 million views a week. And then even after we stopped filming, we went into global syndication for over 10 years. Now, not all seasons went into global syndication, just the first two. And that was the seasons that I was in. I was in the end of season 1, all of season 2, till I hurt myself in the ring. But what I do have is this amazing reach of wrestling fans that over those 10 years that I wasn't wrestling, were watching reruns like you would watch reruns of Gilligan's Island in Peru, in Germany, in the UK. I mean, South America, we were so big. And so I have actually a pretty big following. I have a bigger following, I think, globally than I do in the United States because, our show got, other shows came in, other shows kind of took the spotlight. But in these third world countries, when you bought a syndicated show, you could show it as many times as you want. So, like, just imagine reruns of Glow. And so these viewers in these third world countries were memorizing everything, all the storylines, all the raps. I mean, they had their favorites. And it's just really fun when they come out of the woodwork. They find you on social media and then you hear a story and you're just like, no way. But it's so cool. Like, if you go on YouTube, you'll see different videos that people were taping on their VCR back in the day, and it would be dubbed by whatever audience needed it dubbed. So, like, my rap is in Spanish, my rap is in German, my rap is in Korean, like different. Like, it's so fun. Like, that is such a blessing, all because I said yes to doing something really uncomfortable.
Do you remember your rap?
It had 4 verses, and I know the whole rap is on YouTube, but it was something like, I'm little Egypt, the desert flower. I'll dance for you, then show my power. Because in the ring, I'm full of fight and hotter than the Arabian night. Men who see me will flip their lids. I'm a wonder like the pyramids. Something. If I heard it one time, it's been over, maybe 20 years. If I heard it one time, it would come out of my muscle memory and I would be able to play it. But that's what I got for you right now.
Well, I've had the pleasure of speaking with a lot of the women on the show that did it, and they talked to me about their audition process. Many of them came from the acting world.
Yeah.
Were you doing any sort of acting prior to Glow?
Here's the unusual thing. So the original cast came from LA. And they were actually, a lot of them didn't even know what they were getting themselves involved in. So if you talk to like Tina Ferrari or Ashley Cartier or Hollywood, these even Chainsaw and Spike, Matilda the Hun, Mount Fiji, they came from the original cast, and then they relocated to the Riviera Hotel. So that's why, like, around the end of season number 1, girls were getting hurt. I think at this time, Sally the farmer's daughter was out of the show, trying to come back from a neck injury. So I never met Sally. And then they recast, they were doing a major recast. And I was actually, at this point, I was 19 years old, working in a t-shirt store, and Mount Fiji came in to have a t-shirt made. So there was no audition process. It was, I was so in awe of this giant that was standing in front of me. I was like, oh my God. She was 350 pounds, professional athlete, an Olympic shot putter. And she was so proud of what she was doing. And I had to make this t-shirt for her that for the match. And, she just kept talking to me about how she wrestles at the Riviera. And I was just like, I can't believe it. That's so exciting. And she's like, you should come down and try out. And I was like, I really didn't know what she meant by that. It could be try out and be my next person that I tear alive, and I'm going to be the one that tears you apart in the ring. I really didn't know, but she knew something I didn't know. And that was, there were girls my size, because her sidekick is Little Fiji, and Little Fiji and I are the same size. And we ended up doing a lot of tag teaming together. So, I was just like, you know what? I'm going to do it. She gave me David McLean's phone number. I called him. He said, why don't you come on down? I met with him, and they put me in training right away. And I think that's how they found out if you had the skill, like if you could survive. If you could survive training, then we'll think about giving you a character. Then we'll think about like how we're going to use you in the show. Well, 2 weeks into training, like knowing nothing about wrestling, just that I love Rowdy Roddy and Macho Man, so cool. That's it for the professional wrestling. I 2 weeks later, I was on my first match in front of a live studio audience. At that same evening, Entertainment Tonight was taping. So my family got to see me from, hey, I think I'm going to do this thing, to, oh my God, did you see Angelina on Entertainment Tonight? So great. So great. I've always had, like, things just always worked out for me. And, I've always had, so grateful for all these experiences.
You've made it when you've made it on Entertainment Tonight.
Yeah. Isn't that funny? Yeah. And the other girls were like shocked, because I wasn't like the Glow champion. Americana was the Glow champion. Nanuchka, was playing she's in these title matches, but something about that little belly dancer coming out, that the cameraman was just like, let's use this footage, because I guess it was so different, so that's how I ended up in my first match without auditioning for Glow, just finding my way in. And my trainer was attaché. A lot of people don't know that. They thought maybe Mondo was still the trainer, but he never went from LA to the Riviera. What happened was, after Mondo, he did the core training, and the girls started getting better. First trainers were like Royal Hawaiian. Then Americana was a trainer for a little bit. By the time the end of the second season, Attaché was the only trainer. And so she trained like that second cast in the second season. So Amy the farmer's daughter and the headhunters. Some girls would come back in for training, like Little Fiji, and I'd see kind of a rotation. Dementia was in my graduating class, you could say. I remember Dementia taking her first bumps, not Dementia number 2, Dementia number 1. I remember her taking her first bumps. So I got to see these girls, like, before they even had characters, take their first bumps. And then I got to get better as a wrestler myself. What's really interesting about my storyline is that you get to see a wrestler progress on screen from 2 weeks, which I was basically just doing stomach stomps. Like, I didn't know what to do, right? Thank God, my opponents in my first 2 matches on that day were Chainsaw and Spike, and then the Housewives. So basically just screaming and running around a ring with Little Fiji. Thank God. Thank God. So so that being said, as I was progressing, I was starting to get into single matches, which is like stuff that I'm really proud of, like single match with dementia, attache, Palestina, which never aired. That one was probably my best match. And I'm not saying that because you have no evidence of it. But Palestina and I were really, really pleased with that one because it was like the duel in the desert. So it was like, and we had so many props. Oh my God. So I have pictures. If you go onto my Facebook profile called The Official Page of Little Egypt and scroll through the albums, there'll be one that'll say Glow. You click on that, you'll actually see photos of that match because Matilda the Hun's husband would take photos during the matches. And so he gave me those photos and I posted those online.
That's so amazing.
Yeah.
And the thing is like you really have to want it to be in this business. You have to have passion and sacrifice, dedication to really make it to the elite level. And so when you're training and when you're doing these auditions and you're going out there, it's hard when you're constantly bumping and you're conditioning your body and working with your body to take so much punishment. What would you say were like motivators for you to keep going when things got tough?
Just knowing that the other girls were doing it. You know, they were their belief. I had no belief coming into wrestling because I didn't know what I was doing. So I was borrowing other ones' beliefs. Like I borrowed Mount Fiji's belief that I could do it. I borrowed the beliefs of my opponents. I was in awe of Americana and Tina Ferrari. And I was just like, if they can do it, I can do it. They started before me. I could get to this point. I could get there. And honestly, I thought that was going to be a career for me. I was like, I found my career. I found my calling. This is it. I'm going to be a professional wrestler. I freaking love it. Did not know I was going to retire at the end of season number 2 due to an ACL tear, which to this day I've not gotten fixed. So I don't have an ACL in my right leg.
Do you recall the particular match that you were in when you suffered the injury?
It's on YouTube. It's called Little Egypt's Last Match. So that's going to be easy to find. And I think it was ironically beautiful that my first match was with Chainsaw and Spike, and my last match ever was with Chainsaw and Spike. So I actually got hurt wrestling them, and it wasn't because of a move. This is just a travesty to any wrestler. When they put together the mats for our wrestling day, they left a gap in the mat, and I was going in for a headbutt, and it was against Spike. So she was in the turnbuckle, and I was coming in for a very simple headbutt. All you have to do is land flat on your feet, and boom, right? Oh my God, my heel caught in the gap of the mat and immediately ripped my ACL. So
wow.
I was like, oh, I never felt comfortable. Like, even though we left, like half the cast left, actually 90% of the cast left after season number 2 to go with David McLean and the POW Tour. And David had a spot for me. They made me a whole new Egypt outfit. It was teal blue, very pretty. I had my knee brace on and I thought I was going to be able to do it, but I felt like I was taking advantage of David. Like I was working as Palestina's manager, Yasmin Urek. So we were having a lot of fun. And I was making even more money with David than I did with Glow. But I just didn't want to milk it if I wasn't going to be able to give my all. And I just didn't trust. I mean, at that point, it wasn't even 6 months. I could just really feel my leg just shaking like this. Like I couldn't land a bump. Like I was like, how do I get back up? Hold on, let me move my leg and let me stand up. Like it was just the end of the end. And another, one door closes, another door opens.
It's hard. It's hard to not be able to do the things that you want to do and love to do. And you fell in love with the business. You watched it from such a young age. And now to be able to do this and live out your dream and have it kind of get taken away from you. It's not a good feeling at all. It's depressing.
It is. Thank God they weren't airing the Glow show in Las Vegas because I was a Las Vegas resident, and they did that, specifically so that the girls wouldn't know how popular they were. Because if they knew how popular they were, they would become even more difficult, right? Like Matt Simber, our director, liked to keep us wondering if we were going to be around one more day. It was a total mind control. And that being said, had I been watching it on TV, it would have just made it so much worse. So I was able to cut my losses, and I didn't watch wrestling for decades until one day I was in my living room and the was it? I think it was still WWF. Lisa Marie as Ivory was wrestling in a title match. I don't know if it was China. I can't remember who it was. But my husband was in the living room and he was like, "Oh my God, Angelina, get in here right now. Your friend's on TV." And I'm like, "Who's my friend? What is he talking about?" And I turned the corner and there was Lisa Moretti looking so gorgeous, so strong. And I literally like felt so proud. I was like, "Oh, she made it. She made it." Like we all had dreams of making it and she made it. She did it. Oh my God, I was so proud of her. I got to induct her into the uh, Masters of Entertainment Hall of Fame. I was one of the inductees as well with Trish Stratus, Amy Dumas, Lisa Barron, Lisa Moretti. And I got to do her induction speech before she showed on, before she entered. And it was one of the best moments of my life to be able to share that story uh, with people because it was really intimate. And it was just, if it explains anything about the sisterhood, then you'll feel it. You'll feel it.
It's a Glow success story because it was one of the team, one of the pack, and then they went on and do bigger and better things in the wrestling business. And so it is a testament to, I feel like, the demand and the market for women's wrestling. And I feel like it kind of started with Glow, if you think about it.
Oh, it's without a doubt, and I will fight this to tooth and nail. Glow was the benchmark in female wrestling that turned the the mullahs and the strong, like Amazon strong women, to what became known as the divas and the knockouts. And it didn't happen overnight. That took almost a decade. It took till the 90s, like mid to late 90s before let's say the WWF, before it became the WWE, started seeing women as viable. Now, Glow saw women as viable in 1986, and they proved that they were viable. They proved that they could carry a show. They proved that they could fill up a house, and it has not been duplicated since.
Well, today, do you ever, for some reason, do you ever flip on a channel to watch wrestling? Do you still keep up with it?
I have friends in the industry, and I, I've gone to see the live shows. And if I wanted to get in to see a show, I know who to call. Lisa Barron and I are still really good friends. But as far as just flipping the channel and looking at something on TV, I don't. It's because I haven't had a TV since 2013.
Oh, okay.
So I don't flip channels. Like I'm so efficient and so structured in my time, which is why it's hard to get an interview with me because I don't have the time to fit it in. So with that being said, unless it's somebody I know, I won't go looking for it.
I think that women's wrestling today has reached greater heights and will continue to exceed that because so many people are just in tune with it. They love it. They're passionate about it. And there's so many great women's wrestlers out there now that are doing big things, and it's going to continue to grow and get better. And hopefully we see even more demand in the coming years.
You know what? They used to say back in the day, midgets and women sell a house. Like they come for that. They love the men's wrestling, but there's something like something cool and different that you don't typically see women wrestling each other. Uh, Pro wrestling outperformed mud wrestling. Remember when that was a thing? It outperformed boxy boxing, which I think evolved into what we see now as the UFC fighting. Now that's a totally different animal. Like I don't want to get my face punched in or have cauliflower ears, and like that's not my thing. But what I definitely feel is that I am part of female wrestling, and I do have a place in history, as you know, evidenced by the Cauliflower Alley Club with the Female Legacy Award that they gave Glow, and the Masters of Entertainment Female Wrestling Award as well. So yeah, I think the industry can recognize what we did and what I did with putting together, being one of the producers on the Glow documentary, which led to the Glow series on Netflix. That if you haven't watched, please go and watch it. No, it's not a documentary. It's a dramedy, meaning half dramedy, half comedy. No, they didn't use each of our characters. They couldn't, because then we'd be back to a documentary again and, finding ourselves in litigation because so-and-so didn't really sleep with so-and-so. But when it's a dramedy and it's all fictional, the writers can do whatever they want. It went for 3 seasons, and it also was nominated 11 times for Emmys.
That's so amazing.
Yeah.
What was it like to be part of the reboot and the documentary?
So this is really interesting. I turned the volume down on wrestling and I went all into real estate, closing over 1,000 homes at this point, probably around my 18th or 19th year. I started getting like messages, hey, you're on YouTube. Like this is before, like somewhere around 2009, let's say. And YouTube was just emerging, and then all these Glow videos started coming up, and I'm starting to get messages, hey, you're on YouTube. And I started noticing that, and I was like, oh my God, I can build a library that I can show my son later. Like, this is so cool. Like, as a mom, I'm like, your mom was kind of cool. And so I reached out to, at this point, Babe the Farmer's Daughter, who had the license to use the Glow name, and asked her if she had any videos that I could buy. Well, she was like, you're not buying the videos. I'm sending them to you, Angelina. And also, there's a couple documentary guys that want to talk to some wrestlers. Would you want to drive down from Las Vegas to LA and give an interview? And then she told me Hollywood was going to be there and Matilda the Hun. And I was like, oh my God, I get to see Matilda the Hun. We had so many fun matches together. And I was like, oh my God, I have to see her.
Study. And play. Come together on a Windows 11 PC. And for a limited time, college students get the best of both worlds. Get the Unreal College Deal. Everything you need to study and play with select Windows 11 PCs. Eligible students get a year of Microsoft 365 Premium and a year of Xbox Game Pass Ultimate with a custom color Xbox wireless controller. Learn more at windows.com/student offer. While supplies last. Ends June 30th. Terms at aka.ms/collegepc.
Oh my God, who else is going to be there? And she was like, other girls you won't know, but for sure we're going to be there. And I absolutely drove down that day, drove back home that same night. But when I was there, I asked the documentary guys, I was like, hey, because like now I got a taste. I'm like, I'm seeing my sisterhood, and I'm like, who else we got? Like, where is everybody? And he's like, well, this is all we have. And I said, oh my God, you're going to tell the Glow documentary. You're going to tell the Glow story on this documentary with just 6 girls. Like, we got to get the whole story. This is a once in a lifetime opportunity for everyone to share their story. And so I said, listen, I'll do the work. Okay. Because a lot of these girls were in Vegas. One girl led to another. And I worked on that documentary for 2.5 years. And I located 40 out of the 60 girls that wrestled on that documentary. So at the end of the documentary, you see a big reunion. That came from 2.5 years of work to locate those girls. And one of the greatest acts that I've ever done, because it was just a labor of love. There was no contract. There was no money. It was just doing the right thing for the right reason. And then karmically, the blessing of the Glow series on Netflix for 3 seasons, and it would have gone 4 if it wasn't for COVID, because it was their largest production. It was the most expensive production that Netflix had, and it was a contact sport, and it was COVID, so they were like, doesn't make sense to do this. Like, we don't even have the audience anymore. Netflix usually only buys up to 3 seasons. So the fact that we were going to have a 4th season was amazing, and they were also going to give us cameos, which we never got because they canceled the show.
Oh, that sucks.
I know, right? I know. But anyway, I will forever be entwined with the Glow documentary as one of the producers, and the history that I have with Glow Netflix. One of the fun things that came from that was, I was one of the main contacts for all the interviews. So the Washington Post, New York Times, every major news outlet, even the London Sun, was looking for the girls to get their take on what they thought about the Glow Netflix series. And so I was always the point of contact. So I have a lot of articles that I did, and that was a nice blessing. And then also, I don't know if you know this or not, but The Bachelor came knocking. And not because they wanted me as a bachelorette, although I would totally do the Golden Bachelor if I had a chance. But it was season number 22, episode number 3. The girls were going to have to wrestle for the love and attention and affection of Ari, who was the bachelor at the time. So Babe, the farmer's daughter, and I were cast by the Bachelor to go in for a day and train girls that have never wrestled, which you can see on the show. They don't learn anything. But we were just like, how do we not hurt? How can we do this without these girls getting hurt? It was unbelievable. It was crazy. So we were there for a whole day. We had trailers. It was so fun. And that wouldn't have happened if it wasn't for the documentary that led to the series. And then I remember I was in Denver once. Netflix put $10 million into advertising their first season. So you would go down Hollywood Boulevard and you would see billboards with Glow. And I was in Denver for some reason, and they had big, how they would like put pictures on top of buildings, like 15-story buildings. They had Glow. And then they had big, like billboards that you could stand in front of. And I was like, oh my God, that's karma. That's doing something for the right reason. And then the universe giving you a God wink, like, hey, remember you did that and you didn't want anything? Well, here's a little something just to let you know we saw what you did.
I think the show had just such a lasting impact and an effect on the business, to the point where you have all these people just wanting more of it. And so here we are 30, 40 plus years later, still talking about it.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, I get to be part of that history, and it doesn't go unappreciated. I'm very much in gratitude of being one of the 60 girls that did what we did. I mean, it was only happening there at the time in the world. It was the only thing, and I was part of that magic. It was just kind of like pioneering something that's never been done before, like the first to go through the wall. That is what the Glow Girls did, with something completely new and revolutionary that people weren't seeing on television when they were looking at female wrestlers.
And look where we are today. I feel like women's wrestling, I think, is just in such a much better place now, because not only with the awareness and exposure of Glow, but now you've got WOW doing amazing things.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I'm so proud of David McLean. I actually been asked by WOW to commentate for them behind the scenes. I got to meet Jeannie Buss several times. I got to sit in her VIP seating, and it was so cool. I'm like, man, this girl's cool. She owns the Lakers, and her and Dave own wow. I mean, unbelievable. And David McLean and I are still really good friends, and Matt Simber and I are still really good friends. And I think that at the end of the day, they just want to know the girls did okay. And I think it makes them feel good to see like the success that a lot of us had.
Yeah, and I think that with the mainstream companies as well, like the WWE, with AEW, with TNA, all these companies, the major companies right now, their women's divisions are stacked. They've got
Oh,
amazing talents right now, kicking butt,
mm,
doing really good things, and it's just going to
hmm
continue to get better from here.
yeah. Yeah. A couple things that let me just share for those viewers that want to, go down this glow rabbit hole. If you go to YouTube and after Buzz TV, I was doing the behind the scenes podcast after each show. And I would have the guests on. So I had Mark Maron on. I had Kia Stevens. I had all the characters. I had like maybe, well, what it was probably about 12 different characters on the show giving their take on what it was like to be to be an actress and find themselves in the wrestling world. I think that would be a fun rabbit hole. And then another rabbit hole is if you can get your hands on the Glow documentary, the DVD, if you can find it somewhere and you buy it. The commentary reel was done by Billy Corgan, and it was Billy Corgan, Matilda, and Hollywood, and myself. We did that in a sound studio in Las Vegas. So fun, great. And Matilda Hahn isn't with us anymore. So if you want to hear some of her backstories, it's there. Hollywood was there, and I was there, and as well as um, by doing that with Billy, he also put me in one of his music videos. So at the age of like 48, I'm in a Smashing Pumpkins music video called Awada. So if you want to look at the video, and it's also like a 12-minute short film, you'll see me in there playing my character Little Egypt as a promoter. So those are some fun rabbit holes. I hope your listeners go down.
That's exciting. I want to talk now about some of the stuff you've been able to do outside of wrestling, outside the ring. You've been involved with a lot of different charity groups and organizations. You've been very involved in your community. What are some things that you've been able to do as far as giving back is concerned?
So I have two passions. One is the Cauliflower Alley Club, and that is the organization, the nonprofit that is for the wrestlers. And they have something called oh my god, it just left me, but it was like a fund in place to help wrestlers that, let's say they need a wheelchair, or in my case. And the reason that I like fell so hard for the Cauliflower Alley Club is because in a time of need, they stepped up for one of our girls. So it was Mount Fiji, actually. She was living in a nursing home. And when you're in a nursing home, you just really have one cubby of some things to wear, some writing utensils. You don't really have that much. But a flood happened in her nursing home, and everything she owned was wiped out. And I called the Cauliflower Alley Club at the time. Carl Lar was the president. And I said, Carl, like, Mount Fiji needs help. And he said, what happened? And I told him, and he sent me a check for $600. And I used that check to buy Mount Fiji all new gowns to wear in bed, new writing materials, stamps, pens. And because of that, I'll never forget that kindness. And I will always have Cauliflower Alley Club as one of those organizations, those nonprofits that are doing the right thing for the right reason and no one knows about.
Yeah, they definitely are an organization that will go to bat for the wrestling world and anybody that is involved with that community, because you never know what somebody might be going through, and you just never know what someone may face, struggles they're able to, they're they're
Yeah.
facing in life outside of their careers. And so
Right.
having an organization and a community like that to help them out
Hmm.
when they're not able to
Exactly.
pay for things and do things that they need to be doing, um, we need something
Yeah.
like that.
Well, it exists. It's called the Cauliflower Alley Club, and you do not have to be a wrestler to become a member. And they're the only organization that still has banquets where the veterans that are getting honored will be there for banquets, and that's where like I saw some legends firsthand. That's where I saw Roddy Piper in real life. That's where, I mean, Stone Cold Steve Austin, who put me on his podcast after watching the Glow documentary. And so like this is where like I met Lisa Varon. This is a great networking opportunity for wrestlers, but also to mark out. Like there's nothing wrong with marking out. You can totally mark out. So you can go to the banquet and you can hear these stories that really don't end up anywhere, but just hearing what it was like back in the day when there were territories, and how they would wrestle for $50 and, how they all crammed into a car and, just grinded it out. It was just, I just would sit there in awe of the industry, in awe of the workers, and even the ones that were, that made it, right? How humble they were because they knew that they might not have made it, right place, right time. You don't go, you don't really know if you're going to end up on television. Less than 1% of wrestlers end up on television, which is interesting with the Glow because there were a lot of female wrestlers at the time that were furious that they weren't cast in Glow because they had so much more experience than we did. But again, it was a television show where they wanted, you know, it was called Gorgeous Ladies of Wrestling, but they also wanted really interesting characters that no one's ever seen before. Now we did have let's see, Matilda the Hun used to work before Glow, and so did Debbie Dallas. She was the Killer Tomato. I don't know if she, so they came from the wrestling world, but not everyone who wanted to be on the show got on the show.
And the thing is that you had a character. People are still talking about it. Fans recall the memories of you on their TV. So when you go see these to these conventions or signings and events, it has to feel good knowing that
Yeah,
you're still remembered.
It's when I show up to signings, like I'll do like the Comic-Con in LA every once in a while, or Lisa Varon will be doing something and she'll say, "Hey, you want to jump in?" I would like, yeah, why? Because I want to see Lisa, and she works all the time. So for me, I get to spend a few hours with Lisa, and I don't do a lot of signings, but when I do, it's so cool because when they know what they're gonna see, like I can walk down the street, no one would recognize me. But if you got enough wrestlers together and said, "Hey, Little Egypt's going to be walking down the street," there'll be 5 or 6 of them that'll be like, "Can't believe she's still around." So that's kind of what happens when I'm at a signing. I love to go to signings because the people know what they're going to get, and I always try and show up in character and give them something worth remembering. So.
Was there a particular event or fundraiser that you were involved with, whether it was the Cauliflower Alley Club or something else, that was very heartwarming for you?
Well, I've always like personally there are my own personal contributions that I make to like St. Jude is really some place that's really passionate to my heart. I just love the work they do on a really big level. On a small impacting level, the company I work for also invests in helping young teens with mental illness. That's really that's really close to my heart because I've had to experience that in my own personal life, and only wish that there were resources like this around when people were younger instead of them having to suffer their whole life.
Yeah, it's a very hard world out there, and I think that the more places and spaces for people that can support those that are in need, the better. Because
Yeah.
we all need a shoulder to cry on and friends to count on, and so
Yeah.
the more help you can give those people, it can go a long way.
Yeah. And so even though I don't have my own official nonprofit organization, I do spend all of my time in the woman empowerment field, helping women find their voices and build businesses and become entrepreneurs so that they have more choices to go out there and either leave something toxic or make something better for their family at home. So if you're watching this, follow me on Instagram at Little Egypt. You can also follow me on Facebook under Angelina Altishin. There's several different profiles, but there's the Angelina Altishin that's Blue certified. And then there's the official page of Glow Little Egypt where you'll find all the Glow content if you're looking to have fun there in that space. So women are my passion. Uh, and I've helped hundreds. And I'm so grateful that, I had a real estate career. It was really viable for over 20 years. I closed over 1,000 homes. And there came a time where I was like, I do not want my gravestone to read, "Here lies Angelina," with a 98% listing sold ratio and an average day on the market of 35 days. Like that just didn't sit well with me. I wasn't, I loved the money that I made. I was actually wearing golden handcuffs for a long time, but I also knew I wasn't living up to my full potential, and my full potential and everyone's full potential and happiness comes from a purposeful life. So I went out and, I didn't know how it was going to show up. But when it did show up, I recognized it and jumped in with both feet and said, these women are my people. I know I can make a difference in their lives. They need an example, and they need to see the belief that is possible, just like Mount Fiji gave me over 40 years ago. And that was the belief that she had in me. And now I spend the rest of my life believing in people.
That's so amazing to be able to pay it forward to other people that are going through a hard time, struggling, and need some inspiration. What made you decide to get involved with that?
I just kind of fell into my lap. I was looking for something different outside of real estate. I knew I didn't want to do that. I had left Las Vegas. I moved to Laguna Beach. I tried retiring. Oh my God, that was really depressing. Like, no one should retire. Don't do it. You think you want it, you don't want it. Because I was literally sitting on the beach going, woe-is me. And I'm like, woe-is me? Angelina, snap out of it. You worked 20 years to get to this point, and now you're miserable on the beach. And that's because if you're not living your purpose, you will feel something missing inside you. And so I found a group of women that were coaches, and I was like, oh my God, I want to align myself with women who are empowering women. And also, I love the health and wellness space, and I've been in the health and wellness space for over 12 years. So I'm a anti-inflammatory clean eating coach. I help people reduce their inflammatories, get better quality readings and metrics from their doctors. And they're so grateful, because they just didn't know, they just didn't have the formula to dig themselves out of this hole. And then in addition to that, I teach and train others how to be anti-inflammatory clean eating coaches where they can have viable businesses and coach people. So it's just kind of like this duplication that's been happening. And ironically, it sent me to Poland, and I've been going to Poland for 12 years because I have a team of women there in a completely different language that saw this opportunity to take their families and like elevate them. And now I go to Poland every year, and I'm one of my company's national conference speakers, and I have my own team. And last year I actually spent 4 months in Poland, and that was the most amazing experience. Like, I was living in Airbnbs, and then 1 month I stayed with a friend. But when I was living in Airbnbs, and here I am, a 58-year-old woman, walking in the streets of Poland in like Krakow, Rybnik, Sopot, and even Gdansk, and I don't speak the language. I can't read the signs. It was so quiet that the only voice I could hear was mine. And it gave me so much inner perspective of work that I still needed to do, and just genuine appreciation and gratitude for the fact that I could even be there. Like, you don't go to Poland and see a lot of 58-year-old women from America walking the streets. It just, it doesn't make sense for them to be there. Like, I saw American soldiers. I saw men and female, women and men that were in the military. Yeah, in certain areas, I would hear an American accent and go over and go, "What are you guys doing here?" I could hear you. And they're like, "What are you doing here?" We know what we're doing here. We're on duty, but what are you doing here? Like, what are you doing here? So it's the best. I'm going back again in September. I'm going to be turning 60 this year, and I don't want to spend my 60th in Laguna, although it's beautiful. I want to be somewhere special. So I'm going to go to Poland, and I'll just look to see what flights are nonstop to somewhere, and put myself on a plane and celebrate my birthday in Europe this year.
That's exciting. And two, you're talking about earlier, you've lived overseas, as a kid growing up in Japan. So you're very familiar with other cultures and knowing what it's like to be around different environments. So kudos to you. That's amazing. That's exciting.
Thanks.
I'm happy for you.
I'm also, I also lived in Cyprus for 9 months, and would go see my mom in Turkey after my mom and dad divorced. I would go see her all the time. And I'm a Turkish citizen. So, hopefully one day my exit strategy would put me in Turkey, where I can live out the rest of my life there.
What is it about giving back to the community that gives you the most joy?
Just the genuine appreciation from the people that you're helping. Like when you get a text message or they write something on social media, it's just like, wow, I can't believe I made a difference. So I might not be working under the big umbrella of a major nonprofit. I kind of created my own nonprofit where I'm just in there grinding it out side by side with women who want to learn, and I'm showing them what's possible, and I'm giving them my belief in them until they start seeing the belief in themselves and start paying that forward to other people. So there are coaches that have brought in coaches for 12 years. And it's amazing.
Definitely is. You're going out there, busting your tail, making a difference, helping others. Come on. What can be better than that?
Yeah, you're just grinding it out in the trenches, which is where we're supposed to be. I don't want to be in a boardroom of a nonprofit. I don't want to raise money for a nonprofit, although if I were raising money, I would already direct that to the Cauliflower Alley Club or St. Jude's. Those are the two big nonprofits that I have nothing to do with, but I absolutely am so passionate about their mission statements. With that being said, I also know that there's other ways to give back. That's through time, treasure, or talent. Most people think that working or having a nonprofit or contributing or donating money, that's treasure. And you know what? We all need it. Everyone needs treasure in order to help their nonprofits grow. But you can also, if you don't have treasure, you can offer your time and your talent. And so I spend my time in the other two, time and talent, giving back, rolling up my sleeves in the trenches, helping women, watching them step into their power and their greatness. And it's like, okay, I'm making a difference. So does that help?
Yeah, and I like how you put it too, because there's a variety of different ways you can give back. You can do things for other people. It doesn't have to just be with money. It could be with other things, like just helping somebody out at a food bank, for example. Just
Exactly.
go out and deliver meals, and go to your local animal shelter and help out, participate with, making room for new dogs or cats.
Right. Foster something, right? You can foster a human or you can foster an animal, but there's so much room for everyone to play in this space. If you remember that just because you might not have the treasure, you still have the time and the talent, one of those two, to give back. And that's just how the universe pays you back too. So for everything that you put out, the universe will bless you 10 times fold. And it has for me. I mean, the Glow documentary to the Glow series, perfect example. I mean, a $10 million advertising budget to see like Glow splattered all over the United States, to have, I mean, it doesn't equate like dollar for dollar, right? The energy doesn't equate that way. But if you're giving your time and your talent, you will be blessed in some way. And you're going to be like, wow, I don't know if I deserve that blessing. Look at what you did and just say, oh, it must have come from the time I was helping, because it's karmic and it's beautiful. And I think a lot of people stop themselves from investing in nonprofits or to donating $1 here or $1 there. You don't have to worry about that. There's other ways to make a difference. And if you don't want to make a difference with your time and your talent within a bigger nonprofit, you know what? Create your own little nonprofit, make your own temple, make your own decision of how you're going to make a difference in this world, one person at a time.
Well put. Definitely well said. Well, this has been wonderful getting the chance to speak with you. It means a lot to me and to my listeners. I know we've been talking about this for a while, so thank you so much for coming out, doing the
Absolutely.
show. It means a lot to me and to my listeners and viewers that are watching this on YouTube. You plugged your social media earlier. Feel free to plug anything you want to promote again.
Well, remember, you guys, Instagram at Little Egypt. So easy, so simple. And Facebook, if you want to see me working, Angelina Altishin with the blue check. And if you want to go down the Glow rabbit hole, then go to the official page of Glow Little Egypt. And I have so many different albums from the 80s that you can go and relive your childhood and see, what the girls are doing now. Because anything that I do Glow related, I always keep chronologically, keep it all in place so that it works as like a living journal. So I would love to hear what you have to say about this interview. So find me on social media, send me a message. Tell me what impacted you the most. What did you resonate with? Let's build a conversation off the channel.
There you go. Yes. Put your comments in the comments section and let Little Egypt know what you thought of it. Thanks so much again, and you're more than welcome to come back.
Thank you, Stanley. Appreciate your patience. Have
absolutely.
A great day.
Yes, you do the same. We'll do a part 2 in the future.
Okay, sounds good. Have a great one.
You too. And remember, guys, don't forget Champions for a Cause, Volume 1. We'll put this back in the screen here so you can see a full shot. Buy it now on Amazon for $15. Volume 1, Champions for a Cause. Take care.
This is Wrestling with Heart. I hope you found this podcast to be informative and entertaining. If you did, please hit the subscribe button and look out for the next edition.